is Fun here, and welcome back to another episode of Mindful Drawing. This week we'll explore an influence from what I'm teaching in a pre-college design class at Pratt that looks at unfolding volumes from the 3D state into the 2D state, and then manipulating the connections between the unfolded sides to carve out space on the interior, creating a map of interconnected cells linked together by their surface articulation, connected together by this flow and expansion through the space of the empty page, marking out new territories, each linked to the previous, a subtle change in shape, expanding it, redirecting it, extending it out to create its own system for our creative exploration. I'm also influenced by the lines from the movie Bladerunner 2049 of the cells interlinked. Interlinked, cells interlinked. On and on, the growth that we experience, that we inhabit, this kind of continual remarking, establishing, and connecting of territories, creating communication between each moment, cells interlinked to form our body and express being. You just need a pen or pencil, something you like to draw with, and a piece of paper, anything from a scratch note card to a sketchbook to a big pad there on your desk. Gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. This week, considering doing something maybe a little bit about growth and branching, just letting form develop kind of sequentially on the page through a few collections of shapes, and then use that canvas as a place to experiment. So in the warm-up, we can look at just beginning kind of the sequence of expanding or growing cells that we can manipulate to grow across the page. We'll begin with just a little shoulder roll to make sure I'm in a nice stable location. Check the seat and the alignment of the back and the arms to find that comfortable position to spend a little time in. Taking a breath in, letting it out just to center and come into the space. And then anywhere on a scrap piece of paper or a page, drawing a general square or rectangular shape, just working the way around that hard-edged circle, enclosing a bit of space, and exploring in the warm-up a couple things we can do with this, as we can stack one rectangle onto any side of another rectangle, beginning a direction or sequence just a little bit. We could also turn direction by stacking off of another side. So we kind of grow these pixels or regions out. If we were to add a triangle or a pentagon or some other generally closed shape, we could begin to branch, letting things move off at an angle. The size perhaps slightly changing from squares or rectangles to trapezoids or triangles, any of these base shapes that can let us wander in different directions around a page, spawning out from an individual cell. And for your own work in the warm-up, playing with the shapes that can allow that to happen. They can get more complex and irregular as transitions. They can change size, they have different intensities, moving from that first kind of germ or seed. And with that comfort there and drawing a sequence of shapes that can maneuver and move and grow, we can begin fresh with a larger sheet or just continue on with that one if it's working well. And use those first few shapes, the kind of planted seed here in the paper, to come into attunement with our breathing and our movement, taking a breath in to find location with the pen or pencil, And as it flows out, just beginning to work your way around that basic square kind of seed shape. And if your breath runs out before you finish, just letting a natural breath enter again and fall away as you prepare for the next step in the sequence, up, down, left, or right, whichever feels good from your position, breathing in and letting that breath fall out as you begin to move around the space of that cell. In the next couple of these, finding alignment between the speed of the drawing and the speed of your exhale. Breathing in to begin, flowing out at a consistent speed between the breath leaving through your lips and the pen moving there across the page. And if you begin faster or slower than my cue, follow your own breathing rhythm in to find the starting location and out to flow around and capture in some of that space. As the chain grows in one direction long, you can introduce redirection either through the addition of multi-sided shapes beyond the square, triangles, something that allows for the branching but keeps in alignment with that breathing in to find location and exhaling to wrap the pen and the line around the space. And each new turn or change in direction can extend out the short sequence of the rectangular forms. Now more a bridge between that motion of our hand and the inhale and exhale motion of our full bodies. Each a practice in that space local to us, inside our breathing, our movement. Practicing the mindfulness and attention to that space so that we can occupy it for a time, bring it to the foreground of our presence. And let it shape our being here in the moment. Let it guide the speed of our expression, opening up a little time and space between each engagement or action in the drawing here. Giving our eyes, our hands, and our mind time to fully inhabit each step in the accumulation of this drawing space. And from time to time, giving each trajectory a chance to redirect through a new shape. You begin experimenting the size and proportions and how that changes the attunement with the connection between the breath and the movement, smaller shapes, perhaps moving the pen or pencil much slower to align with the rhythm of the breathing. Or larger shapes, or suggesting a little bit more rapid movement, or a deeper slowing down of the breathing. taking the direction that feels right for your body and the comfort there. If we breathe too slow, we don't want to run out of breath, feel tight or hurried at the end of that stroke. But as you adapt to new locations, new forms, you might find that feeling of tension arises from time to time, and you can always take a breath in between finishing one stroke and moving into the next rhythm of that breath to realign with new conditions. To take that moment of awareness of how your interface and engagement with an external source of influence and action may have some influence over your autonomic systems like the breathing. You can use this practice to bring a little attention back to it so it operates in alignment with our body, giving us a space to open up or relax. Just that little attunement of our breath. And as we have entered into that space of breathing and motion, we can now let them drift from the strong foreground into the background. As a rhythm is established, it may drift away from the synchronicity with moving the pen, locating, drawing, repositioning, but remain in the steady and easy, calm state as we spend a few moments just exploring through the space that's emerging into the drawing. Perhaps a shifting, growing character, something with figure that we see or recognize, or a behavior or pattern emerging, the rhythm or sequence of the stacks. Arbitrary, wobbling, or maybe quite consistent, and lean into that for a little bit as it guides an emergent composition here in the space of the drawing. Having our awareness to be in the presence of each action, but also observe our continuous context changing with each engagement and mark. Our eye able to scan across, hold in the whole space. Local, the last few moves. Global, their engagement with the whole sequence. And find in that your rhythm to the drawing. Potential visual or formal discoveries and influences, and a space both of internal mindful practice as well as external expression and potential paths for creativity. The technique driving the growth and beginning of the drawing, being absorbed into that state of action and reflection, the rhythm oscillating between. Now, suggesting new opportunities, opening up a space to let our attention flow with that extended moment of the practice. And if the page begins to get a little crowded or full, a shift in scale, doing a shallower triangle, something with shorter sides, introducing asymmetry, may begin to spiral off into those tighter spaces, even beginning fresh in the new contexts, perhaps small patterns growing inside of the cells gathered here. Similar to the growth of cells in plants, they begin to compress and realign their form with neighbors, perhaps thickening in that empty space between movements, between actions. Pathways searching through the space provided and made available. And as the page fills, or the composition's density or tightness becomes a place of potential resistance, even a little tension in choosing the next movement, we can shift our attention and explore a bit of this new map or territory as an opportunity for a fresh canvas. In each cell, what I'll begin to do is find a point on one side and through a curve, just meander that point through to another side. It could be a straight line, a squiggle, a wobble in and out, something that bridges the openness and provides from its ending a starting for the next shape. The lines can go adjacent or across, perhaps some with the adjacency suggests new directions for growth in the base form, or just ends to paths. Little wanders communicating across those enclosed territories. A bit of a game of layered pathways, extending out across to connect. Small ones working around corners and edges, longer trajectories, creating flow and continuity. And providing a potential configuration of multiple enclosed spaces that could guide or inspire to create figure and ground emerging within the shape. Mostly a chance for that pen or pencil, that hand and eye to wander within an established boundary and region, finding balance between the rapid and the constrained, the open, difficult to engage territory of a blank page or canvas, and the lighter boundary or guides here within the collection of cells we've created. And where do they reach and grow? Each one a new moment for that exploration, guiding our movement with the previous steps now established here from our prior actions, something to engage with as given, as found in the territory, a response and a reading, along with a new creation and expression. We'll take 5 minutes in silence with just the space around you as you draw, letting the ears, nose, senses open up to what is in your space, maybe even the sounds of the pen on the paper, the traffic or the birds outside, or the silence. And just draw, exploring the space of boundary, of path, of growth, and of movement through there. The last few minutes as we inhabit this space of kind of unfolding continuity, the growth of connected things that find their reach within a larger system to expand, to fill, and then by their consequence establish spaces with unique form and figure trapped within the boundaries. The generative, mindful process providing us an opportunity of the unexpected, perhaps the lightly guided, the figure without form. It's a lighter space of opening up some creativity, of practicing a meditation through action, that we can experience and bring into our awareness during these longer form exercises. But even in a couple of minutes before a meeting or on the train, letting the same flow of shapes, the same exploration of lines be an entrance into that creative, relaxed space inside yourself, to open up the breathing, to bring it into a position of stability and balance within ourselves, and to hopefully find something of inspiration, of organization, or future creative practices here and what you might create in the drawing. And as your next few lines take shape, you can also begin to transition and take some time to come back into the space of the body, to let the hands extend out and stretch, so that the shoulders sit back into the socket, maybe flex side to side, up and down, move forward and back, gradually approaching a roll. So letting the hands do a little bit of a roll back and forth. Maybe to flex the fingers, again, just gradually rolling the joints. And have a moment of gratitude as we return here to our space, ready to re-engage with whatever may be going on around us. An exercise in creativity primed us for that engagement with the world on our terms, steady rhythm of our breath aligned with our action, each moment now and inhabited, reading, changing what has happened before, responding, and then creating out into the future. I hope these practices bring you a little bit of creative expression or relaxation, or just something enjoying to watch and participate along with. If you do like it, give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know what you found interesting and leave a comment. Please feel free to share with your friends and join back every week for new practices in mindful drawing. This is Brooks is Fun, signing off. Draw well. Thank you.